In this video, I'm going to go over a much requested review of the campaign that's in the Humblewood book. And make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video when I share with you why this campaign has meant so much to me. Let's get into the review. Spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about the campaign that's in the Humblewood book and the adventure that's in there. So I recommend that if you're going to play this campaign, that you skip ahead to the end of the video where I discuss why this campaign has meant so much to me. But if you're going to run it as a dungeon master, let's get into the review. I'm playing this campaign with two friends of mine. Now it is best for 4 to 5 characters, I think it says, so each of our players is playing 2 characters, which can be a little difficult sometimes, but they're not finding it impossible at all. They're having a lot of fun. So we're actually playing with a Mapatch Rogue, a Corvum Wizard, a Gerbine Fighter, and a Hedge Druid in this campaign. So I want to go over with you my review. There's 5 parts to this adventure. So far we've played part 1 and part 2, so that's what this video will be about. Once we play the other parts of the campaign, I'll make reviews of those videos too. If you want to check out everything that comes in the box set, I have another video that I'll put right up here that explains everything that comes in the Humblewood box. I also have put all the Humblewood videos together in a playlist where you can watch a video about each race that's available to play in Humblewood and what all the little woodland creatures are like. Okay, so part 1 is called The Adventure Begins. Basically, what the characters are doing is trying to figure out why Humblewood is burning. There is an area you'll see on the world maps called the Scorched Grove. And this is an area of Humblewood that, as far as all the creatures that live there have known their whole lives, it's always been a scorched area. That's why it's called the Scorched Grove. Everything is burnt. And from something that happened, I believe it said centuries ago. But lately what's been happening is the Scorched Grove has slowly been growing bigger and bigger, and the scorched area ends up overtaking a town called Ashborough. And when the characters start out on the adventure, they are in a little town called Meadowfen, and a little owl woman comes stumbling into town, and her feathers are all scorched and burnt, and she's covered in ash, and she frantically tells them that a nearby town, Ashborough, has burned to the ground because the Scorched Grove has slowly expanded and gotten bigger and bigger, and no one knows why. And now the little town of Ashborough has been burned down. And that the roads are also full of bandits. So there's a lot of trade that goes on between the different towns and big cities, but they're having a big problem with bandits on the road. Okay? So basically the party is asked by the magistrate of the town to travel to Alderheart, which is the capital city of Humblewood. It's this big, beautiful tree with different levels of the tree are different levels of the city. It's such a great creative way, I think, to have the city in this campaign, in this world. They asked them to travel to Alderheart to speak to the Birdfolk Council. Okay, and that's basically your local government made up of a bunch of the Birdfolk that kind of oversee everything, and let them know that they need help because the Scorched Grove is growing. Ashborough just burned to the ground and there's bandits on the road. Okay, so from here, the party will kind of set out to travel to Alderheart, and there's a few different ways things can go here. First of all, they come across a group of bandits robbing a cart, like a trade cart that was going between towns, and like I said, there's a few different ways that it can go. There's a lot of different opportunities for, if your party loves combat, there's definitely opportunity to get a lot of combat in. If they like to do a lot more negotiating and talk to people and role-playing opportunities, there's lots of ways to go that route too. But you can also do a little bit of both, depending on what your party is into, for sure. The adventure gives different options between, different DC rolls they need to make for persuasion or intimidation checks to have the situation go one way, but it also provides you with all the stat blocks if they're just like, no, we're murder hobos, we're taking all these people out, and they just want to fight. So that's all in there, depending on whatever your party likes. It's definitely not interchangeable. That's not the right word I'm looking for. Customizable. That's the word. It's definitely very customizable as to how your group wants to play. Okay. So they come across those bandits on the road. It can go a couple different ways. Then they get to the next town, which is the Winnowing Reach. And this is a pretty big town. It's not as big as the giant tree city, but it's a decent sized town. And there is a map of the town that comes in the box with the adventure. And they do get the opportunity to explore the town. You've got storage areas, you've got a jail, the magistrate's office, an apothecary, a bookbindery, an inn and a tavern, and there's a lot of different opportunities for your characters to do some things in Winnowing Reach. We had characters visit the bookbindery and end up looking for a book about some of the monsters and creatures that they could find in Humblewood, which I allowed them to do and allowed them to have kind of a bonus when they're trying to do investigation checks or perception checks or history checks to recall information about some of the creatures because they had picked up this book. So you get the apothecary is a great place if you want to allow your characters to like pick up some potions or things like that, healing potions. So once they get to Winnowing Reach, they're going to talk to the magistrate, and he kind of sends them off at this point on a side quest. So your characters could say, yeah, we're going to help him out with the side quest. They could say, no, our main goal here is to get to Alderheart in the capital tree city. So you've got a lot of options. Characters and ask them for help with a researcher that's gone missing. This researcher went out into the swamps trying to go after some of these slime creatures and collect some ooze or something off of the slime. So the characters are going to be asked to help rescue her or find out what happened to her if possible. So that's an optional side quest. There's also an optional side quest to go out into the swamp and look for a swamp witch, because the magistrate is convinced that this swamp witch is evil and wants her taken care of. And there's a few different ways that also can go too, whether your characters take the swamp witch out or whether they befriend the swamp witch. There's a couple different ways there. If they befriend her, she actually becomes quite a good resource for potions as well. Really neat that you can do that too. So from there, that actually is the end of part 1. That's the adventure begins. They kind of report back to the magistrate that they've taken care of things. And at that point, I had the characters, as suggested by the adventure, level up to the next level. And then we'll get on to part 2. Now, part 2 is called the Bandit Menace. And as you can guess from the title, this has a lot more to do with dealing with the bandits. So your characters are still trying to travel the rest of the way now from Winnowing Reach over to the Alderheart city. And along the way, they have some encounters. You can roll, there's plenty of encounter tables in the book here. You can roll for road encounters to see what they come across. And all of these encounters can be easily adjusted based on what you know your party's looking for or the size of your party. I've done this many times when I've run other adventures, either take some monsters away, add some more monsters in, or maybe sometimes not use all of their abilities as well. So again, I found it very easy to adjust on the fly what was going on to make sure the characters had fun, didn't get overwhelmed. Trust me, I'm not making sure that somebody isn't getting knocked down and making saving throws at some point, for sure. And I wouldn't hesitate to let a character get killed off if that's the way the game goes. But I want to make sure that everybody at the table is having the maximum amount of fun. So a lot of times I do make adjustments on the fly as a DM. So then the characters will arrive in the Great Tree City, and there's a giant map of this in the box as well. There is many levels of the tree, and I just love this piece of artwork that's in the book, which I think is one of the market levels. It looks like a big bazaar type place where the characters could go shopping. So you've got the upper level of the tree as the council plaza, where you're going to find like the Birdfolk Council, the Perch Guard headquarters, which are the local police really, and the jail. Then you've got a canopy market level, and then you've got the boughs and the branches, which are where different people live. Then you've got the trunk market further down, the bright hollows, and the underfall down underneath, which is kind of like the slums of Alderheart. The council, they're going to go in front of the Birdfolk Council and try to let them know, hey, look, the Scorched Grove, something's up with the Scorched Grove. It's growing in size. It's getting bigger. It's already taken out Ash Burrow. Meadowfen is asking for help, and you've got a big bandit problem. The council is going to ask for the characters' help with the bandits. And if they decide to go that route, they actually will end up at a bandit camp where there's a lot of combat that ensues. They will encounter Frey, which is the fox lady. I can't remember now what the foxes are. The foxes. What are the foxes? The fox people, you know. Vulpin. I just passed it. Vulpin, the fox people. There's a Vulpin named Frey that's the leader of this little band, kind of in charge of this little bandit camp. So there's a lot of big opportunities for combat there. They're going to have a run-in with Riffin, who is a little strig, which is an owl knight. And he, I think, pops up later in the story as well. And as far as with the leader of the bandits, again, a lot of different options with this. She can either be killed or she can be captured. So different role-playing opportunities for the characters, different combat opportunities. And ours ended up being quite a good fight. We had a lot of fun running that combat. You know, the map, and we've got the minis, the little stand, the cardboard standees from the box. So from here, after eliminating the threat at the bandit camp, the party goes back to Alderheart, reports to the council that they took care of the camp. From the camp, they're actually able to discover the location of the main bandit stronghold. They have a huge base of operations that it turns out are up in the mountains, which if you have the map, that's way on the right-hand side of the map, the mountains. It takes about 5 days travel to get out there. So the council does ask the characters, since they've already helped so much and they've been proving themselves as wonderful allies, they ask them to travel to the stronghold and find a way to eliminate the bandit coalition leader. To get to the stronghold is about a 5 days journey. So you've got lots of opportunities to roll for random encounters. And to have all different encounters on the way to the stronghold. So lots of good opportunities there for some variety. When they get to the stronghold, they actually have to do a lot of problem solving to find their way in. There's a few different ways that the adventure gives as options for the characters to find their way into the stronghold. They can sneak into a wagon that they've discovered. Wagons of supplies are regularly coming. And they can kind of sneak in that way and find themselves in the storeroom on the inside, which is what my friends decided to do with their characters. They could pose as guards and prisoners and kind of bluff their way in through the front door and take their prisoners to the jail inside. They could just completely sneak their way in if they can find a way in, because this place has about 100-foot walls and people patrolling the tops of the walls and everything. There's a lot of different opportunities here for trying out different things depending on which way your characters go. I love that. There's, like I said, that's what I like about this. It's not very railroady where it's like you have to get your characters to do this and then this and then this. There's a lot of choices available in here. So once they make their way inside the bandit stronghold, inside the walls, they also have a chance to kind of explore around in there. You've got some barracks. You've got a storeroom, you've got a jail, and then inside the actual, it's almost like a room built into the mountain. It's like the inner keep built into the side of the mountain, where there's a few more buildings to explore as well. An infirmary, a storeroom, and then like their overall dining hall where they kind of hang out, and then the coalition leader, who is a deer, the servant, where she has her like bedroom headquarters, whatever. So again, there's more opportunity there depending on if they snuck in or if they posed as guards or if they bluffed their way in. A lot of different opportunities for them to find out information about what's going on there and about Benna, the coalition leader. Again, also the opportunity to either go the combat route and take the coalition leader out and kill her, maybe capture her, who knows, or negotiate. It seems like in every big situation like this in this adventure, there's always those different opportunities depending on which way your characters want to go. Eventually, whichever way they go, they will go back to the Birdfolk Council and talk to them about what happened at the Stronghold. My characters actually ended up talking to the coalition leader, Benna, and negotiating with her, and was able to also negotiate with the council to get Benna an audience with the council to make a plea for like kind of why they even split off to form this bandit coalition, and they're able to actually come together and rename the Birdfolk Council to the Humblewood Council so that the Humblefolk villages are also represented in local government as well. And that's where we left off at the end of part 2 of this adventure. We are just loving this so far. It's the creatures and the characters add such an interesting change of pace to playing with your regular D&D races of like dwarves and elves and dragonborn and things like that, to be playing and role-playing things like foxes and owls and raccoons and things like that has just been great. Again, there's so many options. There's a great balance too in here of magic items. There's some Humblewood specific magic items that seem very woodlandish to add to your game, as well as additional spells for any of your spell casting classes in here as well. So I think they did a great job overall of making a very well-balanced adventure that has something for everyone, no matter what type of game your group likes to play. They've provided like Humblewood specific spells and magic items that just add to the theme overall of it as well. There's also a lot of opportunities for your characters to explore, if it's like in the big city or even the small villages. We had quite a bit of time actually where I think we spent some time in one of the cities just shopping in the markets because they wanted to get some extra supplies or maybe some things that would help on their adventure. So there's a lot of shopping opportunities as well if you have the kind of characters that like to, you know, gather up their money or trade things and get some new and interesting fun equipment for their characters as well. Now, I wanted to share with you too why this Humblewood campaign has actually meant so much to me. I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons for 3 years now, and the friends that I'm playing with, one of them played Dungeons & Dragons in high school, and the other one had never played any kind of role-playing games at all. Since I started playing Dungeons & Dragons 3 years ago, I became hooked, addicted. I love this game. I love all things Dungeons & Dragons and role-playing games in general. And I had actually been trying to get them to try it for years, for probably 3 years now. And they were a little hesitant to play. I don't think they were too interested in, like, you know, the elves and the dwarves and the races that are typical in your player's handbook. But once Humblewood came out and they saw some of the artwork of how adorable some of these little woodland creatures are, and they finally decided to give it a try, and they are absolutely loving it as well. And I think I have 2 new Dungeons & Dragons and role-playing fans. They've even started to look into other role-playing games as well, such as Call of Cthulhu and even the My Little Pony role-playing game. So that's why the Humblewood campaign has actually meant so much to me, because this setting is so different than what is, I guess, typical Dungeons & Dragons, that it allowed some of my friends that aren't really into that high fantasy level to be able to find something that they really enjoy and end up loving the game. And I'm so glad that they play this game with me now, because it means we get to spend more time together playing, doing something we love, and just having a great time. So make sure you check out the other Humblewood videos I have. I have an unboxing that I mentioned of everything that comes in the special edition box. I got it as a Kickstarter. And the playlist where we go over all the races. Now, if you love all things Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games, that's what this channel is all about. So if you like that kind of thing, you're going to want to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when our new videos are posted. And if you found this content helpful, could you go ahead and hit that like button and give us a thumbs up? Helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps more friends to find us so we can grow our community. See you next time.